If you're concerned about cussing, this probably isn't the podcast for you. Be advised. Hey y'all, I'm Jenn. I'm from Oakland, and I'm an androgynous, black, lesbian feminist, and a lover of all black people.
This is Daren. I'm an asexual novelist, researcher, and bona fide comic book fanatic from the widest part of Southern California.
Orange County. We're queer millennials with 3 kids and nearly 20 years of marriage.
This is a podcast about the realities of blackness, adulting, and relationships.
This is That Black Couple. Hello.
Hi.
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 I am so impressed with us.
Why?
It is April.
Mm-hmm.
The first week of April.
Officially.
We have changed the schedule of the podcast to a bi-monthly podcast. We have a set number of episodes. Mm-hmm. We have a set number of seasons per year. Mm-hmm. And we have stuck to our schedule.
Y'all. The struggle is real over here.
But the people, so I just want to say hey to Michael Dew.
Yes. Long time listener.
And this is just so y'all know, this is off dome. This is just an appreciation moment. He has stuck with us since the beginning. When we were real questionable in how we were structuring. The content's always been on.
We've had some kinks to work out.
Right. But the sound wasn't always right.
The
production, we didn't know what we was talking about. We would just droll on just forever. And he not only did he stick with us, he would send us emails like, hey, here's some things that we want to hear, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was like, we just need more content. And I just want to say, hey, Mike. We appreciate you. And look, we did it.
Mama, we made it.
How y'all doing? I'm so excited to be here. This is That Black Couple. I'm Jenn.
And I'm Daren.
Are y'all ready to have a seat? It's episode 7 of season 4 of That Black Couple. And we're talking about black poets during National Poetry Month. And I'm really excited about this because we're actually recording this a day after Maya Angelou's birthday. Mm-hmm. That's pretty dope. So if y'all could grab your Gatorade, we're going to hydrate. I really want us to stop being thirsty bitches.
Yeah, get those electrolytes in you.
Yeah.
Charge up your molecules in your cells.
Yeah. I haven't been hydrating enough in my entire life, and my goal now is to understand what it feels like to not be thirsty from the inside out.
We always bring it up, but it's like it's Angela Bassett goals.
I'm trying to get to Angela Bassett. I think she just only drinks water.
That's it. And I don't know if it's like an IV or something.
She only needs food.
Or if she has a water assistant that's just in charge of making sure she has the correct water intake every day.
Right. A water assistant. That's an idea. A water assistant. I'm sorry. Have a seat. This is That Black Couple. I'm Jenn.
And I'm Daren.
Before we get started, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at That BLK Couple. On Facebook at That Black Couple, and look us up on the internets at www.thatblackcouple.com.
And you can stream us everywhere. That means Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Stitcher, Pandora.
Wait.
SoundCloud.
Are people still listening to Pandora?
Pandora is still a thing, and we're on it.
Wow.
So if that's your listening platform of choice.
Wow.
Find us there.
Okay.
We're everywhere.
All right.
And don't you ever forget that if you want that exclusive content, if you want the extra little bitty cherry on top that just sets everything off the right way that it needs to be set off, go to Patreon and subscribe.
I always love that part because I never know what you're going to say.
I know. I keep it interesting.
I'm always tickled. And here's something I want to add too. This is a new part of the conversation I want to add. We want people to support this podcast. Mm-hmm. Everything that we do here is really run from the beginning based on our personal income, and also support of listeners who have, been tuned in when we were doing Patreon drives. We had people who were excited about the podcast and actually bought our equipment, like it's been supported by folks who are excited about this work.
By the community.
Right. And what I want to also say is, hey, like if you want to run an ad, we don't actually have any ads on this podcast. So we got 2 slots, beginning and end. Mm-hmm. So if you want to hit us up and potentially buy an ad, all that contact information I just gave you still applies. So that blkcouple@gmail.com, that's where you can find us. Please consider that maybe you should have an ad on our show.
Yeah, because we got some dope listeners.
We really do. Michael do.
You might want to reach out to them.
That's one of them.
This is how you do it.
All right. You ready for the show?
Let's go.
All right. So first things first, in our first segment, we're going to talk about just a few Black poets we fuck with.
Yep.
Like just a couple. Because the episode is really about like being a Black writer, being a Black poet, but kind of the struggles and challenges. But I want to start off talking about some folks that we fuck with. So, want me to start?
Yeah, I mean, really quick, what I do want to say is I feel like when you think about poets, I think a lot of people don't think about Black people, or if they do think about Black people, they think about people that, was writing poetry in the 90s
passed away.
Or earlier. Yeah, people that are not here anymore.
Yes.
And I just want to say, poetry is still alive.
Very much so.
Black poets are still producing new content, new amazing content.
Very much so.
They doing things that haven't been done before.
Right.
Right. And that's why we should be supporting them.
And also, I'm going to say something that might not be popular or people might not like. But as a person who was a spoken word artist, who has books and books and books of poetry and did the, Pat Snap type poetry where everybody in the speakeasy, I think that something I want to say here is that there's so many different ways of approaching Black poetry and so many creative styles that I think folks are employing now that I think is so interesting. It's not just the beret to the side, patchouli weed, audience, which is my audience, the hippies. It's not the, stomping, let's pass this around YouTube video links of somebody saying something really dope about white supremacy, which is also my audience.
And talking like
this, because this is how we all do poetry, right? So, I mean, while all those things are critically important, and I love all of them, I also am excited to see this kind of more prose-like, more script-like, more free-flowing, landscape right now.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about Claudia Rankine. Claudia Rankine's book, Citizen, I discovered, I think, in graduate school, and it is incredible. And it's like a long meditation on being a Black woman in the U.S., being other in the U.S. And I really have enjoyed how seamlessly she folds in like the racialized and gendered experience with this kind of sonnet-like writing style.
Yeah.
So yeah, I fucks with Claudia Rankine. Nate Marshall is a dope person as an individual. I consider Nate Marshall a friend. And his most recent book, Wild Hundreds, I've enjoyed reading because he's very Black. He is so Black. And everything he writes is Black. And I think, sometimes you read a writer's work and it makes you realize what's been missing from other work. That's how I feel about his poetry.
Yes.
Right? I feel like there are a lot of poets that I enjoy, but I often don't see the centrality of my Blackness in their writing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then there's Warsan Shire. I think all of us, maybe not all of us, a lot of us were exposed to Warsan Shire when Beyonce released Lemonade. I'm one of them. But she has a book that came out in 2022 called Bless the Daughter Raised by a Voice in Her Head. And I haven't read this one. I've heard about it. But I'm familiar with her more so through her work on Lemonade, which to me was very incredible.
Yes.
Just really great shit. Not just because she was writing from a place of a deep gratitude for like Black feminism and the Black body, but also because like there is something about being able to write words that sound like music, even when there's no music playing. I don't know how. I mean, I'm a poet. I hope I can do that, but I feel like Warsan Shire can.
I feel like that is something that Black folk in particular are very good at.
Yeah. Just having a rhythm and a cadence and word choice. Yes.
Like
and you don't have to do it like this or say it in any kind of way. It just reads that way. You just read it and it reads that way. That is incredible. Yeah, that's my view.
Those good.
Thank you.
I got a couple names I'm going to drop real quick.
Thank you.
Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, if you've paid attention to poets at all in the last 5 to 10 years, definitely heard this man's name, Terrence Hayes.
Yeah.
He's put out a couple works, critically acclaimed.
Mm-hmm.
He just has a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
I really love his voice and I mean, a lot of poets, right? It really, to me, comes down to voice. Mm-hmm. And he just has a really just strong, powerful voice in his work. So definitely pick that one up. That's a good one. I didn't even say what it's called. The book I'm thinking about is called American Sonnets for My Past and Future Assassin. That's definitely a good one to pick up. The second one I'm going to talk about is Jericho Brown. Has a book called The Tradition. What's interesting about this poet is they actually came up with an entirely new style of poetry,
really,
in this book. And so I'm gonna challenge everyone to go read this work, just because, like I was saying, Black folk are still out here creating and innovating and doing new things.
Yeah.
in the 2000s and in the 2010s, we're still doing brand new things that have not been done before. And I want to spotlight that. The last one, Donika Kelly, has a book called Bestiary, and again, really, really great voice. But it's something like, one thing that's really unique about poetry is when you read it and the words jump off of the page and like you feel it in your bones and it makes you move. Just similar to like you were saying about like how poets somehow have a musicality. Yeah. It's like it causes a visceral physical reaction. Mm-hmm. And Donika Kelly can do that in a single line, right? Like a couple words, and it's hitting you to the core, right? And so these are all poets that we should all be supporting. We should all be reading, enhancing our lives with their work.
Love it.
This podcast is supported by generous donations from our patrons and listeners. Become a supporter today by heading to www.patreon.com/colorcombosmedia.
You can stream the show on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. When you listen, please consider hitting that heart button, sharing, giving us a 5-star rating, and leaving some dope comments. This helps us with our page rankings and gets more listeners for the show. Thank you so much.
We're back.
We are back. It was so long.
It's been so long.
It's just so long that we were gone. They probably missed us.
I'm sure they did.
They probably missed us.
I mean, we're very missable.
We are very missable.
But they knew we was going to come back.
It was gone a long time. We shouldn't have left them.
Without a dope beat.
It's a step two.
Step two.
Step two.
Step two.
Step two.
Yeah.
Step two. Anyway.
Okay. Let's stop bullshitting.
You have to stop.
I have to stop.
Continue.
You started.
We're in the conversation, Darren. What's going on? What would you like to talk to us about?
Yes. So it is National Poetry Month, and that's all well and good and wonderful. And we can talk about poets and spotlight them and say how important this form of creative writing is. But we like to talk about Black people.
Yes.
And I thought it would be very interesting to talk about just the difficulties of being a Black writer in 2023.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we don't really think about that or talk about it enough.
No, we don't.
Because shit is hard.
Yes, it is.
And as I'm known to do,
yes,
I found a way to sneak in some research and some facts and some figures.
Of course you did. Of course
even in a conversation like this.
As you should. You are a Ravenclaw. Do it.
That's how I roll.
That's how you roll.
So talking about the difficulties of being a Black writer, I thought, well, let's get some facts and figures, right? Like we can have ideas and we can have opinions all fucking day, but you can't really contradict hard facts.
Yeah.
Right. So, the first thing I'm going to start with is Toni Morrison, the great, the wonderful, the amazing, the legendary Toni Morrison. Outside of being just a boss of a writer, Toni Morrison was really famous for when she shared that when she worked as an editor at Random House, which was from 1976 to 1983, about 3% of the books that were published during that time were written by Black authors.
3%.
3%. After she left, Random House published only 2 books by Black authors between 1984 and 1990. And one of the people that wrote those books was Toni Morrison.
Can we tarry here for a moment? When I saw this in the notes, I was like, oh no, that's my publisher.
Yeah, that's your publisher.
I'm publishing at Random House. And it's interesting because one of the things that drew me to Random House was the fact that Toni Morrison worked there. And for me, this resonates in a particular way because, it's a very linear, relationship. I was inspired to come to this publishing house because of the GOAT of writing. To me, the greatest writer of all time, Toni Morrison. And had she not decided to be one of the firsts, had she not decided to put herself in that situation where she had to be surrounded by whiteness at all times, I might not be at this publishing house. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what's happening a lot. A lot of people are being inspired, as usual, by those that came before them.
That's it.
And I think Black people more and more are finding their voices and finding their lanes and finding publishing opportunities and things like that.
Yes.
But, this is still a challenge.
It's still a challenge. And I think what concerns me is that while we are seeing so many more Black folk getting published, especially in the nonfiction category, I think that folks don't realize proportionately, when we think about Black folk as a proportion of society or proportion of writers, it's still out of whack, right? It's
outrageous,
right?
That's what it is.
And I think that sometimes people get excited because they see it getting better. And it gets better, and it's like, "Ooh, we made it, y'all!" And it's like, no, it's still not equitable.
It's not. And let me put some numbers to it.
Let's do that.
So, there's never exact numbers on stuff like this because it's a little bit subjective, and how do you actually collect this information,
data,
all that type of stuff.
That.
But about 79-80% of writers and authors are white.
Yes, sounds about white.
Let me say that again. About 80% of writers, working writers, publishing writers are white.
Sounds about white.
That's a lot. And publishing and writing has been known to be a white industry for a long time, but hearing that number is hard. Now, when you think about Black writers and authors, that's about 6% of all writers. So, I mean, a decent number. Decent.
Okay.
To be honest, when I read that, I was like, "Oh, okay."
But in a second, we're gonna compare it to the actual Census Bureau.
And that's what I'm getting at. Because when you think about population, Black people are about 13% of the population.
That's it.
So when we make those comparisons, it really kind of shows you how overrepresented white people are in the industry.
No, I mean, if white folk are at about 75-80%, that is representative of their proportion of society. What concerns me then means that there's overrepresentation of other groups that are often seen as sexier and more valid, because how are there only 6% of Black writers, right? That's half of their proportion in society.
And facts have said that readership among Black people is actually going up. Readership of Black writers is going up.
Yes.
And so it's really weird to see numbers like that.
Right.
Because they don't make a lot of sense. And it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But, those numbers I was just talking about were just generalized overall numbers, right? What people really point towards is like what really means something is what's happening at the major publishers, right? The big houses. And back in 2020, the New York Times actually did a study because, everyone, as I said, keep talking about how the publishing industry is so wide.
Because it is.
And they were like, well, you know what? Let's figure it out. Let's try to see how wide it is.
Let's get some data.
Let's see if what people think is actually really true. Here's a couple of the things that they come up with. So they collected information about the writers at the major publishing houses at the time in 2020, and some of these have consolidated since then. But it was Simon & Schuster, Penguin Random House, Doubleday, HarperCollins, and Macmillan. Right, those were the big houses. And so when they looked at all of the books that were published, of the 7,124 books for which they were able to identify the author's race.
Yes.
95% were written by white people.
How does that make sense?
95.
You said these are people who identify as a person of color?
Yes. Well, no. So they looked at all of those publishing houses, the big houses, and of the people where they were able to identify their race. So obviously there's some people where they couldn't identify, they didn't know, they couldn't get the information. But of the people where they definitely knew what the person's race was, 95% of them were white.
Jesus.
Now, in a way, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
In a way, that makes a lot of sense, especially compared to the number that I said before of the 6% black writers in total, because a lot of black writers are not going to be published at the major houses.
Right.
They're going to be at independent houses. They're going to be at small presses. They're going to be self-publishing.
Which means that overrepresentation that we're seeing, it was only maybe like 4% of overrepresentation generally of white writers, but it means that overrepresentation is probably concentrated at some of the biggest publishing houses in the world.
Exactly.
Broski.
Which gives you a lens into how wide the industry is.
That'd be dating.
And it goes further. In 2019, 85% of the people who acquired books for publishers. So now we're talking about the industry. So these are the people who say, I'm going to purchase these books. I'm going to sell them. 85% of those people were white.
That's not surprising.
That's not surprising, right? In 2020, of the 212 books that were on the New York Times bestseller list, 22 were written by people of color. That's over 10%, right? And if
people of color, all the people,
so not black,
all 25% of them,
but just people of color,
all 25% of the population of them. Okay,
right. And so these numbers, they're a little distressing.
This is.
And then just to kind of cap it off, and this is where I think it gets interesting. And as we're looking to the future, we can see that people are trying to make things change. In 2019, about half of the publishing industry's interns identified as people of color.
That is true.
Now, there's two sides of that, right?
Yes.
So there's people trying to get into the industry, trying to make a change, trying to say, hey, there's books that I want to be out there that represent me, that speak to the people that I know, right? Trying to get their way in.
Yes.
However, being an intern in the publishing industry is one of the worst places you could ever work.
And there's no guarantee that you will ever become an agent. It's no guarantee that you ever have your own publishing house.
There's no guarantee of anything. You get paid very, very little. You work very, very hard.
Right.
I've known many people who have been interns at publishing houses and literally had to just up and quit for their own sanity. Right. It is a tough.
It's a very extractive position, which is why so many people are in that position, because the folks at the top, typically white women, are extracting labor from usually women of color.
Yeah, and that's the industry. That's
the industry.
That's what's happening, right? Yeah. And so and I say all that to give a backdrop to this conversation to say, being a black writer is hard.
Being a black writer is hard. Being a black editor is hard. Being a black intern is hard. Being black in the publishing industry is incredibly hard.
Yeah, you were clearly even and not to shit on the industry either, because there are a lot of people, a lot of very well-meaning white people, to be very clear, who see that stuff and know that it's bad and want it to be better and are doing a lot of work and trying very hard to make it better. Yeah. But the numbers are the numbers, right? Yeah. So you are very much pushing up against whiteness at every step in the process, from when you're actually just writing, trying to figure out your voice and trying to figure out how to become a writer, to when you're actually trying to get an agent, to when you're trying to get, but like every single step you are pushing right up against whiteness.
Right. And I think, so a couple things here. I think this obviously hits home for me because, as you know, I changed agents last year, and I previously had a white woman as an agent. And, I'm not about to trash her on a podcast or nothing, but
I mean, she's a successful agent. She's done a lot of good stuff.
We weren't aligned. We just weren't aligned. But it took me working with her for a number of years to realize what we're talking about, like what it feels like to have to push up against whiteness at all times in your writing as a Black writer. And now, my editor at Random House and my agent are both women of color, and it's a very different experience. It's a very, very different experience. And I will say, like, I think that we I think take for granted the fact that so many Black writers are telling their stories and getting these, like I'll say, like George Johnson is writing nonstop and getting deal after deal after deal after deal, which is so important for all of us. Mm-hmm. We have, folks like Kayenga Yamada Taylor and Robin D.G. Kelly, co-writing with Colin Kaepernick, you know what I'm saying? And creating these anthologies where all these folks are getting writing opportunities. And we've got folks who are opening up their own imprints. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It's really an important moment for so many of us as Black writers. And we need those doors opened. Like, we need those spaces held for us like Tony did, because otherwise we will bump up against whiteness, and it is it's so sharp and violent and subtle and harmful, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't honor our work.
Yeah, I mean, just the way I think about it and watching your journey has been so interesting, right? Mm-hmm. Writing in and of itself is a very vulnerable
extremely
act, right? You are literally putting yourself on the page. You're exposing yourself in so many ways.
Yes.
From every angle.
Yes.
With every word that you put down, right?
Yes.
Doing that as a Black person, you're especially vulnerable, right?
Yes.
Because we're already vulnerable people.
Yes.
And then, again, in an industry where you're pushing up against whiteness, right? Mm-hmm. So even, like you said, in subtle ways, in implicit ways, and unconscious ways,
yes,
unintentional ways,
yes,
right?
Well-meaning ways,
very well-meaning ways, right?
Yeah.
Where, like, to your point, it's important that you have people who get it.
Yeah.
It's important that you have people around you that understand.
That's it.
Right. And when I think about a lot of the work that's come out over the last 5 to 10 years, right, a lot of really amazing, groundbreaking stuff that Black people have put out.
Yes.
But, anecdotally thinking about the stuff that they've, kind of shared, like, it was hard.
They had to work really hard. Whenever I read Kiese's narratives about working through his own publishing processes and having to buy back his own stuff, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, Deisha Filial had struggles as well with agents and folks who weren't supporting her work, and I'm just like, this is wild to me. These are phenomenal writers, brilliant human beings, and they were treated, like the riffraff, like they had no business being in the room
because the industry didn't get it,
industry didn't get it, and that is so disappointing. And I think for me, that's why I'm like, I'm not even gonna allow myself to be in front of white folk like that and have them think that they're qualified to have any type of conversation about the worth or estimation about the value of my work anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to do it in academia, and I'm certainly not going to do it in publishing.
And the people support it, right? The people are who the writing is for.
Right.
Right. And if they get it.
Right.
And the writers get it. Right. We're just trying to bridge the gap.
Right. And you got to build a team. This thing, you got to build a team around you who gets it. And I think that when I hear these stats, it's like, this is why we have to support Black agents. This is why we have to support Black publishers. We have to actually, in the writing world, those of us who are in it, we have to seek out the folks who are actually trying to open doors and hold those spaces. We have to actually support them.
You can find my mom and dad, aka That Black Couple, on the web at thatblackcouple.com. That Black Couple is owned and operated by Color Combos Media. If you would like to help fund our content, sign up at www.patreon.com/coloredconvosvideo. Please consider giving us $5 or $10 per month to help us build our platform and grow our organization. You can also give one-time donations at www.paypal.me/coloredconvosmedia. All donations are welcome.
Okay, let's wrap it up with our reflections. Last segment.
Let's do it.
So I want to talk really briefly about, just challenges we faced as writers and how we've overcome them. Okay. I mean, I identify as a poet, essayist, author. I write, op-eds and not short stories so much. Me and short stories aren't friends, that's you. But op-eds, essays, and books and poetry. And I think where I've faced the most challenges is in op-ed writing. Writing for, fast-paced, 24-hour news cycle, online publications is incredibly grueling. It's probably one of the things in my life that I was like, I don't know if I ever needed to get involved in this whole journalism thing. It's exhausting having to constantly be plugged in and trying to forecast and predict stories before they happen. And one of the challenges I faced was that I didn't have the time and capacity to be on and tapped in at all times. It got to a point where, I had children, I had a full-time job outside of journalism. I was like, people were like, did you see this? No, I've been at work all day. And I started getting behind on what was happening in the world. And I felt fatigued, I felt exhausted. So at some point, I just decided to stop doing that. I decided to stop chasing the news. Because I didn't want to be that kind of journalist anymore. I didn't want to be a reporter. And then I wanted to honor the type of writing that I wanted to do. And I was like, I need time to digest what's happening. I need time to sit with it. I need time to read what other people are thinking about the thing and have said about the thing. I need time to marinate on my experiences. I need time to journal, before I come out and say something. And I just decided to stop doing that. And it's funny, my friend the other day, my friend Key, was like, I think you're so funny because, we'll all go off about something. It'll be like a day or two later and you'll be like, so. And you'll just mic drop all of us. And he's like, I love it about you because you really be having something important to add and you're not going to repeat what anybody else said. You have a unique perspective on this. And it took me a long time to realize that unique perspective was important. And it was better to wait on myself and to sit with myself and to honor myself, to develop that and to nurture that, than to rush to give some canned response or, And when I stopped doing that, my writing improved and my writing professional life improved. The places I got invited to write it improved because I found my voice.
That's really good advice.
Thank you.
That's what I think every writer needs to hear and keep in mind and remember, that you are the thing. Mm-hmm. You are unique in being a writer. It's what you specifically have to provide that really counts and what really matters. We got to keep that central. And that kind of honestly really feeds into, I think, my biggest challenge. I identify as a writer, I guess writer at large.
Yeah. Because you that nigga.
Novel writer, short story writer, poetry writer, opinion writer.
Yeah.
I write
everything.
I write all the things.
Yes, you do.
And I think my biggest obstacle has definitely been imposter syndrome. It has definitely been on so many levels of, is my writing good enough? Do I have something important to say? Do people care about what I have to say? Is someone else more important? Did I get all the typos out? Did I go over this and edit it enough times? I consider myself definitely a high achiever, and I always want to be the best at whatever I'm doing.
Yes. And
trying to be the best at writing is a losing game.
You got that Capricorn moon is kicking your ass.
It is beating my
Taurus
ass.
sun, Capricorn move.
Beating my ass. But that's the thing. Like, you can't be the best at writing. No one is the best at writing.
No, well, Toni Morrison.
I was gonna say Toni Morrison is not the best at writing.
She's the best at writing.
She's really good.
And I don't care what you say.
I'm gonna tell you right now. If you go back and read some of Toni's stuff, there's some questionable things in there.
I don't care what you say.
There's some stuff that goes on too long.
We don't hear him.
There's some stuff that
it's not
that
possible.
if she went back, I don't think she's even come out and said this. There's some things that she didn't like so much.
You don't want to be married anymore.
That she would edit and she would change and she would do differently.
Who is this man?
I'm just saying.
Nope.
There is no the best.
She is.
A lot of white people like to say a lot of these white men writers are the best.
I see what you're saying. But she's Serena of writing. So I
don't. Yeah.
And Serena's the best of tennis.
I just mean that to say, like, there's no perfect.
Okay.
Like there's
okay.
There's minor league and there's major league.
Okay.
There's stratospheres.
I mean, agree to disagree.
She the Serena. She the Grand Slam. That's who Toni is.
Listen. Black women are perfect to me. I don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about two perfect human beings, Serena Williams and Toni Morrison. That is perfection. I don't know. Sorry.
There's two different.
I'm sorry.
Kinds
you're having a
perfection.
professional conversation, and I'm okay.
But I mean, to that point, right? Serena is the GOAT.
Serena is a perfect goddess made of sunshine and raspberries.
But she didn't win every match
with the perfect alignment of muscle tone and fat distribution, chiseled from Mother Nature herself. First of her name. Goddess Olympia, child, mother. Sorry. She's perfect. She's perfect.
She is.
I see what you're saying, but hypothetically.
Like I said, she didn't win every match.
I don't. It wasn't meant to be.
She didn't have perfect games every time she
didn't
played.
Have to.
Because
imagine being so perfect, you still don't even have to do all the right things, and you still can be perfect.
But the point I'm trying to get to is with writing, you can get yourself into a black hole that you never come out of because it is such a singular, isolating act.
Absolutely.
You can edit yourself into oblivion.
Yes.
Right. Imagine if you were Serena and you were playing tennis.
Yes.
And you could say, you know what? Let me rewind time.
Yes.
And do that.
Doctor Strange.
Do that volley again.
Yeah.
I could have hit it harder.
Yeah.
I could have sliced it to the side.
We earth signs. We do that in real life. That's who we are.
And I'm saying, as a writer, that is what you actually really have that power.
Yes. Oh, yes, I know.
And you can sit somewhere in a corner for years.
Yes, I know.
And do that unending.
Yes, we know.
And no one has any idea.
Yes. we have a secret first child.
Oh,
Can we tell the podcast?
Oh yeah, he out there.
We have a secret first child. You and I.
We keep him close to us.
Do we want to talk about this?
He's loved, and he will see the light of day.
We will let him out.
He will see the light of day. He not ready for the sun yet. He not ready for the sun.
Do we want to tell them who our secret first child is?
Yeah, we can tell them who our secret first child is.
He was born in 2006.
He was born in 2006.
In June 2006.
Yeah. He was born. He was welcomed into the earth,
into the world,
with loving arms
on a sunny afternoon in LA. When Daren decided he wanted to start writing a book,
I was like, I'm gonna be real serious about this.
I'm gonna write this book.
I'm gonna write it.
I've
had this book on my heart.
That was 2006. So our baby.
He's had some growing pains.
Our baby was 17.
He's had some growing pains. He went through puberty. He had an awkward phase.
His voice changed.
His voice dropped.
Changed. His voice changed. It got more personal.
Yeah.
He develops more scenes and
he's maturing.
He's maturing.
He's coming into his own.
More depth.
He's getting an identity.
He's getting more character.
Yeah. And very soon, I think he's going to be ready to step out into the
world. We'll meet him before he turns 21.
He gonna be an adult.
Will we meet him before he turns 21? You think
he gonna be able to drink?
I love how you got to answer the question. I love how you won't answer the question.
The kids nowadays, they tend to stay home a little bit longer.
You want to keep him in until he's about 25 till his brain fully develops.
We got to see.
Okay, so So anyway, y'all,
He gonna make it. I trust and believe in him.
We're saying all this to say that we're speaking about this imposter syndrome and this editing into oblivion from personal experience, because we together, that's the other thing about being in a couple. I don't think people know that. When you're really, really together, like in real life together, ooh, I don't want to drag nobody's relationship, but hey, if a hit dog holler, it's not on me. I'm not hitting the dog. I'm not hitting the dog. I'm just punching in the air like Boys in the Hood. And if you walk into the punch,
it's not your fault.
It's not my fault. But what I'm saying is, like, when you really together in a real relationship where you look out for one another and support one another's work and you potentiate one another and you want to see the other one grow, then when the one person does something, it's like you're both doing it.
Exactly.
So you've read everything I've done and you've helped me conceptualize and theorize. It's kind of like a us project. And I've sat and we've figured out scenes and what makes sense and sounds corny
and
what characters should be gay
and shoes they're wearing
and how the things should crawl up the leg and not lay down and do this thing and be black and look like smoke and is it spiritual, and like we've done those things together. We've done those things together. So this is our child.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be so proud of him. I'm going to be so proud of him when he meets the world. Hopefully by the time he's 25.
Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World.
And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in our Patreon segment.
Yes.
Because the other piece of this conversation that we don't have time to talk about here is
the logistics.
When you are like taking it seriously, what steps can you take? What education
getting
can you
an
have?
MFA.
You know, what people do you need to have as a
getting
part of your
an agent,
team?
yes.
All of those types of things.
Yes, working with a publisher. We'll do that, a quick segment for our Patreon subscribers. So if you want to hear stuff like that, go to Patreon. Find us.
Thank y'all for listening. Before you go, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ThatBLKCouple, on Facebook at ThatBlackCouple, and look us up on the internets at www.thatblackcouple.com.
Bye.